We are going to walk through Sitebulb, which is a new crawler that's in beta from uh, the folks over at URL Profiler. For those who don't know, URL Profiler is a great way to pull in metrics for a list of URLs. We've always relied on other crawlers to provide the list of URLs to URL Profiler, and now it looks like we can use their crawler Sitebulb as well. I don't know that it's going to replace other crawlers, but it does have some pretty unique features that I'd like to show. It has a good user interface. Um, and what I think is the most compelling aspect of this is that you get a lot of the features and functionality and the robustness of a crawler that you install on your machine, but you get all of the cool visuals and easy use and those kind of UX features of a hosted crawler like Botify, for instance. So if you can imagine, on the one end you have something like Screaming Frog, and on the other hand you have something like Deep Crawler Botify, then this kind of sits somewhere in the middle of those two. Let's look at some features. Right now I have 3,068 URLs that were crawled on the goinflow.com website. There's some CSS files, some JavaScript, and quite a few images as well. If I want to look at internal URLs, it takes a moment sometimes for the report to populate. And I can see here, it looks like I've got some 404s, not a lot. In fact, 4 of them. But if I click here, it'll show me which URLs are returning the 404. And then you can, of course, see all of the various other metrics associated with it. Likewise, for those that have a 301 status code, so these are all of the URLs that are redirecting on the site. These were found via a crawl, so in many instances these are going to have to be updated. So if I have internal links pointing to these URLs that are then redirecting, I probably want to update those internal URLs. The cool thing is you can also see the parent URL, so you can easily find where these links are, and you can open those up in a new window as well. You can connect these to you can connect this tool to Search Console and analytics to pull in various other metrics. It can also do some scraping for you in terms of viewing the search results, and I would recommend using a proxy for that. But this is telling us whether it is indexable or not indexable, and then whether it is indexed or not indexed. You can look at link metrics for internal links as well as external links. A few different ways of looking at it. I like the percentile view here, it's pretty neat. You can also do anchor text, top pages. I like the top pages report because you can view the pages on your site that have a lot of authority and that are being linked to internally a lot, but maybe don't pass that page rank and that authority onto other pages. So an example quite often would be about us, terms and conditions, privacy policy pages. Those kind of pages tend to get linked to in the header and or the footer site-wide, so they have a lot of internal page rank to pass, and yet we often don't put any links at all on those pages. It does some on-page analysis as well. It would tell you if there were duplicate headers or meta descriptions. It gives you some readability analysis as well. And performance metrics, we're looking at speed here. Overall, we have a B, and that's you can also have this crawler rendered JavaScript, which is huge. I didn't turn it on for our site because it's not necessary, but for many single page applications out there, many websites built on JavaScript platforms or using JavaScript libraries like Angular or React, then this will be extremely helpful in getting that content to actually render. These are resources, so images and JavaScript mostly, but you can also look for render blocking resources. Looks like we have a few that are redirecting. Luckily, none that timed out or gave an error. Then you can also see the status codes and the protocols for those, whether it's HTTP or HTTPS. You can input your sitemap and get some information back about, okay, you have this many URLs in your sitemap. These are actually not indexable or not indexed, and sort of figure out how to remove some of the junk or dirt from the sitemap to clean those up. We don't have any international, but you can definitely look at the hreflang stuff there. Search traffic gets pulled in from Google Search Console, and it looks like you can view your long tail here, and we can see that one URL gets 766 organic search visits. That's way up at this end, and then down here we have 50 URLs that are only getting one search visit. We have some dwell time information down here as well, and you can view which URLs those are just by clicking on this. So you can kind of see what's keeping people around and where people are jumping off the site quickly. Of course, we don't have any AMP on our site. If you do, then this will help you verify that that is all working properly. But here's something I like to play around with, and this is really what I think makes this tool super cool. This is not exactly a sitemap. This is a map, a visual map of the crawl path. So I'll give you an example. Let's say they started at the home page and then they hit this page, which is our case studies. You could get to that case studies from several different places, but this is showing that they came there from the home page and then they started hitting all of these little case studies. You could just as easily have gotten to that from somewhere else. And another, probably a better example is, looks like it goes from the home page straight to an author page, and that's because we show all of our team members on the home page. But this author nodule or node here could easily have been off of the blog as well. And if we go over here, we see this is the blog. I can pull this around, going to do some neat stuff with it. And then each of these is going to be a recent post. Then we have some outliers out here. Took them a while to get to these. This would be a category page. Category PPC, and it looks like they found the second page of that category and then started chewing through all of these blog posts associated with it. This is our CEO, Mike Belasco. That's his author page, and if I wanted to kind of check that out, I could pull it around. This is Chris. This is Keith. And this would be me. So you can kind of zoom in and out as well and see, a bigger picture of it. You start getting down here, and these start to kind of look like pretty close to orphan pages. This is SE Overflow. Obviously, we rebranded 5 years ago, so I already know this is very old. And it's, hey, we're going to be at the SEO meetup. That's obviously something that has no business being indexed, doesn't need to be crawled. In fact, I may even just delete it at this point. And I can go over here and kind of look at these outliers as well and see. Let me zoom in a little, make it easier. So this is our 9th page, pagination and SEO category. This will probably be page 8, page 7, I bet, so on and so forth. And these are okay. Those pages are not indexable, but it looks like they were crawled. I really like this tool. It's fun to play with. It always snaps back into place. It's pretty. I think the main thing we're going to use this for is just to get to know a site. When we first take on a new client, for instance, we may want to just get a visual representation of their site. There are other tools out there that do it. I've never been able to get them to work very well. This is the first one that's worked very easily for me. In fact, I didn't have to change any settings. So that is the new Sitebulb tool from URL Profiler. You can get early access at sitebulb.com. I highly recommend it. I think it's definitely has some features that you're not going to find on other tools, and like I said, it's a very good mix between one of these hosted crawlers that are really pretty, but you can't really do much with them in terms of highly technical analysis, and then something like Screaming Frog, which installs on your machine, but doesn't really have a lot of visual reporting features.